Hi, I'm Jim.
And I'm Becca.
And we are professional Englishists. This is week 3 of our discussion on commas. If you want to see the other 2 videos, links to those are in the description below. This week we are going to focus on transitional expressions and parenthetical expressions.
Transitional expressions do exactly what they sound like. They transition from one part of the sentence to another, or from one sentence to another. Transitional expressions often are used to create a better flow when you're writing. Let's start by talking about transitions between 2 independent clauses in the same sentence. To do this, we first use a semicolon. Then we insert a conjunctive adverb, such as however, therefore, and moreover, or a transitional phrase such as in fact, as it happens, and for example. And then we use a comma. For example, Buffy Summers came to Sunnydale expecting to have a normal life. However, her hopes were quickly crushed by Rupert Giles.
Here we have 2 independent clauses. Buffy Summers came to Sunnydale expecting to have a normal life, and her hopes were quickly crushed by Rupert Giles. As we discussed in the first comma video, we can tell these are independent clauses because they can stand on their own as sentences. If we want to connect them, as would make sense logically and flow much more smoothly than keeping them separate, one way to do that is with a transitional expression like however. We use a semicolon to identify the end of the first independent clause, and then use however and a comma at the start of the next one.
We can also use a conjunctive adverb in the middle of an independent clause to transition from one part of the clause to another. To do this, we would put commas on either side of the adverb. We could even make the same point that we did in the expression above. Buffy's hopes for a normal life, however, were crushed by Rupert Giles. Buffy's hopes for a normal life were crushed by Rupert Giles is an independent clause on its own, so when we insert however into it, we set it off with commas to indicate that it is separate from that clause.
This sentence wouldn't make much sense on its own, though, because of the use of however. Since however must respond to something that the sentence is contradicting, it would have to be preceded by the sentence that the however is responding to. Such as, Buffy Summers thought her problems would be over when she came to Sunnydale. Buffy's hopes for a normal life, however, were crushed by Rupert Giles. I personally think that our first example is stronger, but that is a stylistic decision. Both are technically correct.
We can also use transitional expressions at the start of an independent clause, like this. As it happens, Sunnydale has no shortage of undead to slay. When we do this, the comma goes at the end of the transitional expression. In this case, the transitional phrase, as it happens. To indicate the end of that expression and the beginning of the independent clause it is transitioning to. A transitional expression at the start of a sentence is often used to transition from one sentence to another. So, for example, let's transition from our first sentence to this one. Buffy Summers came to Sunnydale expecting to have a normal life. However, her hopes were quickly crushed by Rupert Giles. As it happens, Sunnydale has no shortage of undead to slay.
Another common way to insert a new word group into an independent clause is with a parenthetical expression. Parenthetical expressions are similar to transitional expressions, except rather than transition from one idea to another, they interrupt the flow of the sentence by inserting new information that isn't relevant to the point of the sentence. As the name suggests, this is information that could be included by putting it in parentheses, but it can also be included by putting commas on either side of the expression.
This is different from a non-restrictive adjective phrase, because it does not modify any of the nouns in the sentence. It simply interrupts. It acts as sort of an authorial aside. Like this sentence, Joss Whedon is, as far as I'm concerned, one of the best writers in comics and television today. The parenthetical expression here, as far as I'm concerned, breaks the flow of the sentence, and it does not describe a noun the way an adjective phrase would. If you're confused, though, don't worry. You punctuate parenthetical expressions and non-restrictive adjective phrases the same. So we've got a lot more to cover when it comes to commas. They're kind of complicated. So we think maybe 2 more episodes, if you can bear with us. But please, post more questions about other grammatical structures, writing, literature. Books, us. Give us questions, because we will eventually get off commas, and we will have to respond to something else.
So like the video, subscribe to the channel, favorite the video. YouTube cares more about favorites than likes, which is a little weird, but, you know, do whatever you want to do as far as showing your support for us, and we'll get back to you, and we'll see you next week.
Bye!
Bye!